Again, my name is Chef Ted, and we're going, as Zach said, we're going to talk about cinnamon rolls, right? So I'm going to talk about two types of cinnamon rolls that I have here on the table. To my left are what we call thaw-proof and baked cinnamon rolls, and to my right are what we call freezer-to-oven cinnamon rolls. So no labor required there. So, but before I even get into that, right? So I want to talk about why you should think about our Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, right? Because you got a lot of choices out there that you can choose from for cinnamon rolls, but with our cinnamon rolls, I just want to let you know that the one thing you want to think about with our cinnamon rolls is the quality, right? Our quality is second to none with the competition out there. The next is consistency, right? So regardless of if you're a super talented chef like myself, or whether you're a dishwasher, a production manager, or just somebody in the back that's just doing paperwork, anybody can produce these cinnamon rolls, okay? Third is variety, right? So we have a bunch of different sizes and shapes on the table as well, from with our FTO cinnamon rolls from a 0.9 all the way up to a 5-ounce cinnamon roll, right? And fourth is the shelf life of our products. So our products will hold up longer after they're baked, so up to 2 to 3 days after they're baked. So those are 4 good points to think about when you think about Pillsbury. Okay, so again, I said I have 2 products on the table. I'm going to start to my right here. My left. I'm sorry. We have our thaw-proof and baked cinnamon rolls, and I focused on 2 today. So one is our 2.5-ounce frozen dough, and our 4.5-ounce Pillsbury Plus dough. And so the difference between the two, you can see there's 2 differences. One, you're going to get a nice tall wall. So this is what we say is our everyday roll, right? And our Pillsbury Plus roll, this is that signature roll. So that's that indulgent roll, that ooey gooey roll. That's that signature roll. That's your kind of your center of the plate item. So think about when you go out to a place and you got that real, you smell that cinnamon and the gooiness when they have that plate roll. So this is that roll that will take up the surface of a plate. So that's that big cinnamon roll that you like to get from like more of like your independent restaurant. So this is what you would use for that. But also, I just want to take you through the differences on how to prepare this roll, right? So because a lot of people get a little nervous when we say thaw-proof and bake, right? And believe me, it's not that simple. So, and the one thing that's great about our products is the packaging as well. So we basically give you a diagram, like if you, this is for our Pillsbury Plus roll right here. So it tells you up to how the later rolls out. So if you're using a full sheet pan, you would put it in a 4x3 pattern. But also, it explains specifically in detail on the box how to use this product, right? How to prepare this product. So this is what we say thaw-proof and bake. So you take it out of the freezer, right? So this is what the product looks frozen. And then you let it thaw overnight. So around 8 to 12 hours overnight, up to 15 hours, right? So you see the difference, what it looks like from the freezer to the refrigerator to your walk-in cooler, right? So it's going to jump, right? So just it's double just from sitting in the cooler. And then from there, you proof it, right? So you would either put it in a proof box, or you could do what we call floor proofing, which is just putting it on a sheet pan and just maybe putting some plastic wrap on it and you just let it proof at room temperature until it doubles in size. That's what you're looking for, to double in size. And then when it bakes, you're going to get this nice spread. So the one thing, so you'll see there's 2 differences, right? So one, I say you got the tall walls with our 2.5 ounce. So this is a nice, it'll bake up tall, but with this, it bakes up wider. But the one thing I love about this roll right here is that the coils open up when they bake. And so what that does is when you go, if you want to put your icing on it, whether it be a vanilla icing or a cream cheese icing, and you put it in it, it co-mingles, the icing will co-mingle with the cinnamon, with the ooey gooey cinnamon smear, and man, it is oh so delicious. So that's I just want to show you the differences there between that. Now, moving along to my left, we have our freezer to oven cinnamon roll, right? So that basically, there's no labor involved with that. So you don't have to think scientifically about it. It's just taking it out of the freezer and putting it into the oven, right? From your freezer straight into your oven. And I said we have different sizes. So we have a 0.9 ounce. I have a 0.9 ounce. And I'll tell you what I use today. So a 0.9 ounce, which is our smallest roll, 3 ounce, and a 5 ounce right here, which is what we call our cinnamon twirl. And this is more of a biscuit type formulation, right? So this is, just think about like a biscuit rolled up with a real indulgent smear. So this is really tasty. And then we have another signature item, and this is our cinnamon twist. So this is what we call more of a laminated type dough. So think about like your croissants and your danishes. So it's going to have a lot more of a flaky finish and a flaky texture when it's done. So if we look right here, you can look across and you can see the differences in what it looks like when it's baked. Okay, so and here's the 0.9 ounce to the 3 ounce and our twirl and our twist and our twirl. Okay, so just the differences there. It doesn't, and I love this because it has the nice flaky finish, and this is a great item for your coffee houses or your nice independent establishments out there. So again, so as I go through this, right, the biggest difference between the two is time, right? So with the thaw, proof, and bake, it's just time. So it's not a lot of labor. It's just the amount of time that it takes to actually make it. And let's say and just to give you another example, we say let it thaw overnight in the cooler 8 to 12 hours. But let's say if you're that operator and you had a busy night and you forgot to pan them up the night before, okay? No problem. You can take this out of our rolls right out of the box onto a sheet pan and let it quick thaw on a sheet pan for up to 1.5 to 2 hours. And then from there, you could either floor proof it. If you have the luxury of having a proof box, you can put it right into the proof box. Okay, so just want to let you know the differences there. So not a lot of labor involved here. It's just the time. And again, I like to give these visuals so you see what it looks like over time. Okay, and again, if we're thinking, it's just we're looking for it to be double in size when it comes to proofing. Okay. Next. Okay. So when I'm going across here, so just there's a couple of ways in how you can finish it, right? So the one thing what I did here after the rolls came out of the oven, I brushed it with a little bit of simple syrup, which is just equal parts water and equal parts sugar that I brought to a boil, and just brushed it over the top of the cinnamon rolls. And what that does to the cinnamon roll, it gives it this nice sheen, nice shiny finish. But also what that does is it retains the moisture, it keeps the moisture inside, so you don't have to worry about these cinnamon rolls ever drying out. So it's going to retain that moisture inside, and it's going to extend the shelf life of the cinnamon roll. Okay, so that's another point. And then once it's baked, but you put it into a clamshell or whatever you have, you can have that product for up to 2 days on both of these rolls, up to 2 to 3 days once the product is baked, and it will retain. It'll still have that moistness once it's covered. Okay, and then you could you can coat it with a little bit of vanilla icing or cream cheese icing, and that's only going to enhance more of the flavor and enhance the shelf life even further. Okay, so, and I like to show this as well. So this is just the cinnamon roll from a thaw, proof, and bake perspective. And I just want to show you the difference with the freezer. Oh, sorry, that's bad. With a freezer to oven. Freezer to oven cinnamon roll. So you get definitely a bigger rise with the thaw, proof, and bake versus the FTO. So This is yeast raised versus what we call a chemically leavened type cinnamon roll. But again, still great finishes, and great shelf life once it's done. So a couple of things what you could do as far as finishing, right? So there are a lot of things that the cinnamon rolls are great on their own, but if you a couple of things that people like to make are sticky buns and caramel rolls, right? So I just took equal parts sugar and equal parts brown sugar and equal parts heavy cream that I put on the bottom of a pan, and then I put my cinnamon rolls right on top of that. And then I bake them for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then once they come out, you just invert it, and this is what you get, right? Just a nice ooey gooey finish. And then up top, if you want to take that same smear, if you want to add some chopped pecans to it, you can have a nice sticky bun. But my absolute favorite is this one right here. And I call this a smoky caramel roll. So that's basically the same heavy cream and sugar, but I just put chopped cooked bacon on top of that, right? So, and you just look at that, right? So it's the sweetness and the caramel and the saltiness of the bacon. This is a nice signature item right there. Just take a look at that. Doesn't that look fantastic? You know, so that's just a couple of things, and a couple other things that you can do with leftovers would be bread pudding, French toast. With the cinnamon rolls, there's a bunch of things you can do. So now I'm just going to show you just a couple of packaging ideas, right? So people aren't dining in, so we need to show our operators some of the options that they can use for takeout. And again, these are just ideas. These are not recommendations or suggestions. These are just me using some of the packaging products that I have here just to show you to get ideas. Okay, so just one idea is just putting this 0.9 ounce cinnamon rolls in a box, in a small box that you can use. Nice little display there. It could be in a clamshell. And again, these are our twirls, our biscuit twirls that I just put in a quarter sheet pan, baked, and you can just put a nice little lid on it. And that could be something that could be a takeaway for brunch, for a nice Sunday brunch. Or it could be just a nice little sleeve with our Pillsbury plush roll. Again, just another little box just to put the cinnamon roll in, iced cinnamon roll. And you may not have all this packaging. Somebody may just have some deli paper, and that'll be good enough. And you can just put that in a bag, and off you go, right? So it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Just work with what you have. So what do you have right now? What does your operator have right now in their operation that it could work with? Okay, and then some more ideas would be just packing them in an 8x8 pan, either plain or iced. Just a few more ideas. But also, another way you can do it is just having it already, selling them, packing them up, frozen, have them take it away to go. All right, and just put some instructions on top what to do when you get home, so you can have that fresh, that nice cinnamon smell at home, baking it at home. So just do that, and maybe give your customer a little bit of icing, vanilla icing to go to take with that, so they can have in their operation. You know, so it doesn't have to be overly complicated. I like to keep things as simple as I can, because within these times now, I think it's important to make sure that we keep things simple enough for our operators to do, but still at the same time, still give that wow factor. So, and that's the thing, is to be able to give your customers those options that they're looking for, but in a simplified way. Okay, so I might have finished a little bit early, so we can probably get some questions in. But before I take the questions, just to kind of bring it all back, just to remember the important things about the differences between our rolls with thaw, proof, and bake, and with our freezer to oven cinnamon rolls. And just remember that when you think about our cinnamon rolls, think about the quality, the consistency, the variety, just more importantly, just what is it that your operator's looking for, right? So, and between the time, do they have the time to actually do a thaw, proof, and bake? Or is it just, I just need something that's ready to go? I just need to get from the freezer to the oven and get out the door because I have other things to do. So with that, if there's questions, I'd love to be able to answer any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you, Chef Ted. Seriously, thank you so much for going through that in depth. We have one question, a couple comments.
Yep.
I do agree, we definitely need a glass of milk with some of this. That sounds delicious. But we do have one question coming in. Any recommendations if someone would want to bake these products up in advance and then wrap and freeze for later consumption?
I'd say to get if you want, you can bake and freeze, but to get the best out of the cinnamon roll, I would recommend to either bake. I would say more. You can bake the day before. If you freeze it, you can freeze it, but if you freeze it, just remember to just slightly reheat it, just to bring it back before you either package it again. But if you want to get ahead of it, you can pan your stuff up the day before and just throw it in the oven. But if you don't even have that type of time, I would say just if you need to freeze it, but just make sure that I would probably just reheat it just to give it a little bit more life, and maybe just brush a little syrup again, just to retain that moisture.